Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another podcast by Lexdiscuss Cafe. I'm Avinash, and today we have a special guest joining us, a legal maestro in fintech industry, Mr. Nitin Bhuwania. He is a General Counsel at Easebuzz, a fintech company transforming digital payments. As per many verified sources of mine, Nitin's name is synonymous with corporate excellence in finance and fintech circles of Mumbai. Let's peel back the layers and get to know the man behind the legal prowess. So, Nitin, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast. Anybody who doesn't know about you, can you give them a brief introduction about yourself?
Thanks for the great and wonderful words, Avinash. I feel privileged and honored to hear it from anyone else, and I think that shows the kind of work and the kind of excellence you're bringing to your own profession in the profile. I think you have covered it very well. Just to add to it, so law is something I'm very passionate about. By qualification, I'm also a chartered accountant. And being a chartered accountant and CA, people always ask me this question. Like, we have seen very rare people with this combination and then stitching towards the law. I feel it's more to do with what is something which intrigues you, which gives you a kick, or which gives you enjoyment. After all, we're working for not only for just bread and butter. It's also something we are working for the satisfaction. Absolutely right. I have experience of working with leading corporates in this country. I was part of Piramal group prior to being heading this the general as a role in Easebuzz. In Easebuzz, you mentioned it. It's a fintech, and which is the future right now currently with a lot of things. And accordingly, as I say, being into the fintech space, which is very exciting, very new, and very innovative. I have seen the transition from a very established corporates like LED Finance, Piramal, Axis Bank to the fintech space. So the journey has been wonderful and great. Open to you for further queries. I think that's good to start with.
Wow. No, completely agree. And congratulations for your recent award for being nominated as Vision Legal Leadership. I really believe you deserve it, looking at the amazing work you have done. But I just want to get you to those early days, right? When a lot of us didn't even know what we want out of our life. So what happened at that time? Because I saw that you were doing law, and then simultaneously you did CA. What happened during that phase?
Okay, great. I think this must be common to most of them, and very few people are fortunate in this world to get a very life which is decent and which is with a silver spoon life. In terms of my academic background, I was a very mediocre student. I was not someone who used to get first, second, or third in my school and college days, but I was above average, and I always believe in doing something which excites me and which gives me satisfaction, as I said. So law was something which I chose. People around me, I did BCom in banking and insurance, which was a special course launched by the Mumbai University. And people were like, okay, you are going to make a great career in banking and insurance, and you're going to be something there. I said, okay, fine, but I think I want to choose a professional life. And I chose CA, and with all due respect, with the CA profession and CA qualification, I got to know deeper, very good insights about the functioning of law. And just to add, I was someone who got one of the highest marks in the institute in my corporate law paper. So that excited me. I'm good at something. Let me identify this, and that was the point. We said, let me identify this, and I think I should go into the law. Earlier years, I also had a lot of aspiration of serving the bureaucracy, doing civil service examination. I tried for it, and I reached till interview there also, but somehow was not able to see myself in the final list. But that was a tough period in my life. I saw a lot of challenges, because I was not having any godfather. I was not having anyone in my family, or in the sense my near and dear ones, who was close to this profession of law. I
Okay.
chose it, and that was something, I see lot many times. I took it on myself. This is the path which I have chosen. Let me drive it, and I have to actually build the roads. When I say I have to build the roads, I mean to say I after uh, yeah, after like doing law, CA, it was a lot of struggle for me to get into a good law firm. And just to say something, Avinash, I was not from the tier one national law schools. So since
Right.
not being from the national law schools, it was difficult for me to get a job into law firm, and it became really difficult for me. I actually went to the same route which others would have gone, applying, trying to speak to people, seeking out the help. Can I just showcase my skill, or can I just work with few of the legal luminaries who are there in the market? But the answer to it was obviously no. And they used to say, you have a good qualification, but you're slightly late in joining us. You could have done lot of internships. I did few internships where I got some understanding about how things function law firm, but still I was not able to crack any tier one law firm. But that didn't undermine my perseverance and my passion to pursue law. People suggested me that time that you are a qualified chartered accountant, join a CFO, work with them, you'll grow there. And just to add something, uh, CA profile and CA form was something with which few of my members in my family were doing. Uh, my uncle was a practitioner in Mumbai, and he also suggested me, like, you join our firm. I said no. I want to be with my profile and the passion which I have chosen. I want to stick to law, and Avinash, I struggled for it. I reached one. I knocked a lot of doors. I asked them for, please take me as a intern, or please take me as an associate at a very basic level. Somehow, I kept on trying, and then I was fortunate to join a law firm called as General Counsel, and then I worked in General Counsel for about 1.5 years. After that, after getting experience, people started getting me in the market. I was fortunate to get into another tier two, tier three law firm, which is there, Solomon. I still was not able to crack any tier one law firm. Probably and I used to listen very funny reasons around it. Oh, you have grown old. Your qualifications not from national law school. All of that which was there. I said, okay, fine. Let me just keep on trying. And that was something which was burning very hard with me. Like, this is something which I have chosen. I need to excel into this. So my request and my suggestion to the people out there, like as you said, it's difficult to identify what you want to do. For the people, they just keep on struggling. It's the phase which everyone goes through. But choose something and stick to it is something which I would suggest. And the doors started opening up afterward, because I said you need, and this profession demands lot of hard work, lot of determination, lot of being into things. So I think the best thing which worked out in my favor was, I said, it's my choice. Let me go ahead with it.
Right. Oh, wow. Completely like great story and great insights there. Uh, and it was a very courageous decision to, like, despite being a qualified CA, choosing law, right? Because as we all know, like, CA have a much more comfortable job profile, especially in the initial days, right? So that was really courageous of you. Right. So now coming to that transition, right? So you graduated, you are dual qualified, you have a CA degree, you have a law degree, but you chose to specialize in law. You, like, really put your heart and soul and got into law firms. Now, how did that transition happen where you have been working for law firm and now you have joined? I think you started from NSC, right? Now you're
That's what's wrong.
right, and National Stock Exchange, right? So you joined their corporate department, and since then you have been a corporate counsel, especially like primarily in the lending and finance and fintech space. So how was
Absolutely right.
that
And
transition?
yeah. So as I said, so it was all a struggle. Was not able to crack a tier one law firm, and something in me was always telling me, like I'm made to do something which tier one law firm people do. I started developing friends with my fraternity, and I started seeing them talking about great transactions, doing a lot of, I would say the work which is beyond my thinking or my expectation that people will, I'll be getting it to do those work. Then since I was not getting a tier one law firm, I thought like, why don't I try being a counsel with few reputed companies? And I took that decision very, very soon, because at law firm I understood, okay, I have gained it, I'm getting it, what's going around. But why don't I try something into the corporate field? Few of my friends said me like, Nitin, that's an upcoming area, but again, being a in-house counsel, you will be bounded by doing something which is very housekeeping, very monotonous work. And I was very scared of, choosing a work which would have been monotonous in life. I said, it's fine. Let me get into corporate, understand how the nuances around it, how they work, and always have a larger vision. And if things don't work out, I'll move. And I mean, just like I have changed jobs, I have changed corporates, but for every reason, every change, the idea which was going behind me was to excel, to grow, and to grab more challenging, more admiring work, and something, getting more challenging work and coming out of the comfort zone was the path which I chose. So when I started working with National Stock Exchange into the corporate legal department, again, I was a very junior person there, not getting very good work, was given very basic housekeeping work, with all due respect, like whatever the work the company had, I was doing that. Right. But then I thought like, no, let me still struggle, strive to it, struggle over it. And I again started speaking to people, applying to lot of openings, and I got an opportunity to work with Axis Bank. And here I got an opportunity to work with hardcore legal department of the banking Axis Bank. So, and I think I was fortunate. I went there. Luckily, my mentor at Axis Bank was someone who I would like to recall, and I always recollect my mentors, because I think whatever learning, whatever experiences, and whatever faster mode of growing in the profession is all due to the mentors. I was fortunate to get to be trained under one of the best, VP, he was vice president there at Axis Bank, and he was known with his name in the bank, in the entire banking industry. Even if a senior would say something, like people just say, and his name is Mr. TV Mani Prasad, with all due respect to, and I still call him the sir. And with Mani Prasad sir, I got an opportunity to work with him, and there was something I burned myself. I burned my midnight oil. I slogged. I learned things at a very faster pace, and this was my first corporate legal department with a banking financial company. So after National Stock Exchange, which acted as a platform and a pillar, I got an opportunity to work with the bank there. So coming back to your question, it has been exciting with working with corporates, especially with the hardcore legal departments.
Wow. No, great story and great insights there. I think, rarely I've spoken to people who are successful and, during their path, they didn't, encountered someone who acted as their mentor, teacher, advisor, and most of them, credit a large part of their success to that particular person, right? I'm really happy that, you came across Mani sir, and we also thank him for, guiding you, because of him, we, have the honor of you, or counting you as a legal professional colleague. Right. So now coming to my next question, right? So a lot of our listeners are from law school, and there's a lot of misconceptions around what is the role of a general counsel, right? So in your opinion, somebody who's like, is the general counsel of a company like Easebuzz, what does his day-to-day or weekly responsibilities look like?
Okay. So I would say general counsel is a kind of an epitome in the profession. When you become a general counsel to a company, It's not only the legal, your general counsel for the legal work which is there with the company. And being a general counsel, the role is very, very vast. And the vastness of the role can be considered as with the factor that the general counsel is supposed to advise, strategize, uh, counsel, or give them part to the company, which is beyond what is a hardcore legal or head of legal or someone who is heading a team of lawyers would do. General counsel is not only supposed to be someone who talks all about law and doesn't get into the real root cause of the problem. If I just talk about law and not try to solve the problem which the companies are facing, I think you don't do justice to your role. So there's a lot of time general counsels have to spend over strategizing what is the business. The business comes with a lot of multiple plans, multiple actions, and multiple vision. The counsel is supposed to add more vision to it and supposed to add vision to it in terms of regulatory. So in today's world, Avinash, if you look at the risk which has become very prominent, especially into fintech space, is the regulatory risk. And it's the fintech is all about innovation, excitement, doing things fast. But being into the fast journey, what we have seen and what we have not noticed, and what I have personally noticed, people miss out on the legal, regulatory, and the compliance aspect. Those who have actually missed there or didn't had someone to advise as a general counsel or someone to advise or give a control or check there, the founders have actually felt sorry about it and repented for not getting a right person, right counsel to advise them that this speed is good with the fintech because that is what they are known for. The innovation is good, but there need to be some amount of control, checks and balance. And the regulatory risk is such a huge risk right now, Avinash. And all of a sudden, I've seen very large companies, without naming them here, are finding themselves in a stage that the entire business is stuck. They cannot do anything. They cannot actually grow. So as a counsel, I just don't need to, advise them on the legal, because you see lawyers in the market, and the lawyers are like my professional colleague, with all due respect to them, is known to, scare. People say that he will scare you and he'll put you under the legal obligation, foundation. As a general counsel, you have to start having a different eye to things, which is also a business eye, business acumen, and always look into a situation that you should not fall, or the company should not fall in a place where it finds itself in a kind of a risk, which is a regulatory risk, where there is a complete stoppage, complete overall of what the business actually the company is doing. Because and this profession and this position calls and demands for it. It's not only a lawyer in the in-house counsel would do talk about documentation, do some very good, exciting writing of those clauses. It is something beyond that, getting into those things also, advising it, and finding out a solution which is amicable to the risk, business, compliance, vertical, and operations. All of them should be on sync with what you're doing. So the corporates are more about collaborating, and as a general counsel, you're supposed to more collaborate with people, avoid dispute in the organization, within the organization, outside the organization.
Right. Wow. No, I completely agree with the statements that you just made. And a couple of days earlier, I was interviewing a fintech entrepreneur, and she was also, discussing kind of the regulatory hurdles that, especially in the fintech space, founders have to, take care of, because it's a from regulatory risk point of view, this is a high risk, niche to specialize in. So, and what you said is completely agree. And like the perception founders have that if I go and speak to lawyers, they will kind of like give us a very standard answer, like because as lawyers we like hate taking risk, right? So if a client comes to us and asks us like should I do this, right? So as a lawyer, I'm going to give him the most conservative answer, because later on if something goes wrong, at least like it won't come back to me. And that's what, like, an external legal advisor kind of see their responsibility as. So what is your advice to, fintech founders who are in so early stage that they can't afford a full-time legal head of legal or a general counsel, but when they consult like an outside, like a law firm or a lawyer, they get very legal advice, and like there's no business sense attached to it.
So, Avinash, I will have a very different view and different answer to it. I would only recommend the cost you pay in the beginning to the to with the head of legal. I know there is a budget constraint and all of that which is there, but having said that, the cost which you will be paying in the initial stages of your business, and especially when you are building up your company, when you are actually getting into detailing of raising funds, getting investments, and at that time not paying much attention to the cap table or how much dilution the company is supposed to do, founders have ended up paying crazy amount of losses, crazy amount of money to lawyers, to regulations, to taxation afterward in life. So it's like, I would say the choice with the founder should be, do they really want to pay at this stage and take care of the future, or don't pay at this stage and then suffer in the future? It's very simple, and it's look very it pains a lot to the founders when it comes down to making hiring a head of legal. And when they say head of legal, and the lawyers, and of lately these profiles have become very expensive because the professionals actually are doing a lot of work. So founders get into a kind of a route which is like, ठीक है यार, मतलब अभी नहीं, I'll just speak to one of my friend which is there in the law firm, and I'll just take some advice from him on that front. So coming from that perspective, founders do that, but I have seen a lot of founders then coming forward, going back to very tier one law firm, because now they are in a very big mess, and the mess which they have created themselves, they never thought around it. Founders have diluted their stake like crazy. They relied on some XYZ advice with some law firm. Law firm gave them very conservative advice, and they started getting into a zone and a situation that if I go to the lawyer, again coming back to the point, I'll get an advice which is very conservative, very negative. This is the role as a general counsel or head of legal who is there in the organization play. He gives them the comfort because he understands. You go to the founder and say, I understand your business. I am part of your business. I am part of your company. If you take this route, there is a legal risk, which is like highlighted by the law firms, external counsel. But these legal risks can be mitigated by these steps. And if we take these steps, I think we are balanced and we are protected. That is something which every founder, every company promoter who is into the business should take into consideration. Else, you don't bear the cost right now, you will be bearing the cost at the later. Very few great companies have set up their offices in the different parts of the world with all strategic vision, whatever they have, but they failed at that time to take some advice from someone who was very core to their business, who was within their business, and they see themselves, after 2 years or 3 years down the line, with the regulation with a point which says that you cannot be sitting out there in Singapore, or you have to come back. There's a data localization rule, there's a data privacy rule which is coming into the picture, and because of all of that, the cost of the ticket from Dubai or Singapore or that company to coming back to the India, setting up the base to India, is much larger than what would it had costed if these points were taken into consideration when there was someone who was advising them when they were doing one of these activities.
Right. So Nitin, I'll put you on the spot and ask a controversial question. So in your opinion, an external law firm can never replace an in-house counsel, be it an early stage startup or be it a later stage startup. What are your 2 cents on this?
Absolutely right. I'm very firm with this concept because I have lived on both the side, shorter period in my law firm and at the largest period with being an in-house counsel. And you don't see the immediate benefit coming out when you deal with the in-house counsel. compared to when you're when there is no in-house counsel and when people are seeking out help from law firm. But having said that, law firms are supposed to be very highly specialized people. They are supposed to assist and help the in-house counsel in the company to take a very informed decision. I absolutely agree with this point, and which is slightly controversial. The law firms can never replace in-house counsel, and it's not only the cost, Avinash, which is aligned to it. It's
Right.
not only the cost factor which comes into the picture. It's something more to do with bearing that cost and getting it to a situation that, okay, law firm will charge me some XYZ amount of money, which may be larger. The in-house counsel will charge me something lesser, but the fruits of what we will be doing a balanced approach by mixing both of them and bringing on the table will be great. And lot many times you'll find founders and the promoters, they reach out to law firm, they get an interpretation of law from them. Again, they want to take a second opinion, third opinion with the third law firm. You will find multiple law firms giving a different opinion. Now, you need someone who understands your business, who is with you, and to give you that confidence, okay, go ahead with this, my opinion, which is there, and this is assimilation of the multiple opinions. This is a situation with a lot of founders and promoters in the companies are finding themselves. And with all due respect, they are not lawyers. If you look at the founders, most of the founders are either a fintech, a techie guy who is a pass out from IIT, or someone who is a finance CA, chartered accountant, will not understand the legal nuances. Again, he has to reach out to someone else. Typically, what does founders or promoter do? They reach out to someone who they know in their family, or again, who is their friend of them, and then the law firm's view has need to be assimilated by third person. Again, the founder is into the same problem, the promoter is the same problem, that what should I do? So it's irreplaceable, and it advisable for all the companies, especially I would say, Avinash, it advisable in the initial stage to have a good legal co-founder or legal in-house counsel, or a lawyer who is advising you, rather at the later stage. Because honestly speaking, Avinash, when things get stabilized, processes are set up, or it is more of a process driven. What happens at the later stage, a law firm can give you advice and people can manage it out. But when things are at initial stage, when it is at the growth spurt, it becomes crazy. It becomes crazy difficult to sort things at the later in life, rather than sorting it stitching in the time. There's a famous saying we say, "Stitch in time saves the stitch in dime." So it's all about that. I say in-house concepts are irreplaceable, especially in the initial stages of the companies and corporations.
Great advice there, Nitin. I completely agree there. And, I have heard so many horror stories from the founders, on the legal troubles they end up doing. They are far, and they are few and far in between. But when you hear about the negative downside, then, it completely justifies the investment there. So now let's get into the heart of this podcast. Uh, and I want to start with a little funny and an icebreaker question. So the question is, in a battle of wit, who do you think would win? A stand-up comedian or AI specially programmed for legal humor? And why?
Okay, great question, Avinash. Uh, I, great question, and I think this is the heart of the discussion. What we're doing, I would say both of them have a different role to do in their life. But any AI which is programmed to do humor cannot do justice to a stand-up comedian, because because when you talk about comedy, it's something to do more with the emotions. I personally feel that AI cannot touch the emotion. They can give you funny, the very funny answers, or very funny slogans, or very funny dialogue delivery, what the content they can give you. But these content need to be delivered by someone which is a standard comedian, because he has to bring emotions and connect with the people whom he's talking to. So, AI, no doubt about it, is going to become the part and parcel of everyone's life, but one should know when to use the AI, how to use the AI, and how to get into a situation where AI can create a really impact into the professional working. That is what it need to be taken as. So coming back to and answering very straight away, it's going to be the stand-up comedian, not the AI who is having a legal humor or legal
Wow.
because I feel
Yeah.
emotions are something which have more relevance in life rather than the machine learning. But no doubt, the stand-up comedian need to take benefit from the AI in bringing a content which is far more better, far more superior. But again, the delivery of the content and all of them has to be done by with lot of EQ, which is the emotional quotient which need to be there.
Right. So yeah, that's one of the reasons we asked this question. So yeah, great answer there, Nitin. So now, going a little deeper and tackling the specific instances, right? So in the broad general, the jobs that a general counsel has to do himself or herself or oversee, documentation, compliance, data privacy, M&A, where do you see that, that generative AI especially making the huge impact in the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay. Uh, so genetic AI is going to create impact in terms of making availability of the information ready-made to a lot of extent. So today, as a general counsel, someone who is not very close to the AI has to spend a lot of time into research, lot of time into and be speaking with people, how things should be, getting the content, what need to be written, searching out the different case laws. Generative AI can actually help you there in squeezing that time. And someone, a lawyer who is using the generative AI or AI as a tool in his business or in his working or in his profession will be far more quicker, wittier, smarter to provide their responses rather than a lawyer who is actually shying away from using an AI or is not being able to use AI, is not comfortable with using the generative AI. Because see, you have to accept one more factor, Avinash, that whichever profession or whatever you are doing, you are also living in a world which is highly tech oriented, very competitive, and wherein lot of people are will have an answer or will have a response which is generated by generative AI will give a far more impact when they are discussing. See, as a lawyer, we need to do a lot of representational work also before a lot of counsels in industry, and sometimes there are representation which are also done before the legal authorities. A generative AI can help that person to give him the weapon, the sword, or the content at a very faster, easier, and smoother pace. But then again, the delivery of the content, the response to that content need to be done by the lawyer. So I think the answer here has to be more about balancing between the generative AI and the lawyer as a profession, and someone who uses generative AI as a tool is the future. He will have an edge over a lawyer or someone who has not used that, because probably the machine can give you some clue or some better understanding about few things at few spaces, or bringing out that section of that particular provision of law straight in front of you, rather than you searching out, missing it out, or omitting it out. So chances of omission becomes very narrow when you are actually using a generative AI tool.
Right. That's the prevalent opinion these days. And, I keep on saying this statement that AI is not going to replace lawyers. Lawyers using AI is going to replace lawyers who are not using AI. Right.
Okay.
But I want to go into a little bit of minutia, right? So, like you mentioned, legal research as the primary candidate for leveraging generative AI, right? So, a corporate counsel, what kind of legal research, right, on a day-to-day basis, on the representation side as well, does a corporate lawyer needs to do? Like, what kind of legal research, obviously maintaining confidentiality of wherever you have worked. Can you give us some specific instances about the type of question a corporate lawyers usually researches on?
Okay. So I think there are few pillars with corporate lawyers are supposed to be doing into their daily work. Drafting of the contract,
Right.
advising, research are the core pillars. These are the pillars on which the corporate lawyer stands. When you ask me what is the kind of research a general counsel corporate lawyer will be doing into their daily life, as a general counsel or as a corporate lawyer, you will always find yourself in a situation where you need to give someone an interpretation of the law which is written, but an interpretation of the law or the event which has a proof of concept. So here the research plays a lot of role. Lot many times you are struggling or you are finding yourself with a question which is already an event taken place in somebody's else, some other corporate's life at some other situation, with a slightly different nuance around it or different facts around that. But the conceptual level of both the aspects are similar. So if I give it an example, and which is what you asked about, so a lot many times as a general counsel, we are asked this question, like, what if we don't agree with this clause, or what if we agree with this clause, which is the indemnity clause, which is limitation of liability clause. Now, if the counsel does a research, he can very well come out with something which is very good in drafting that clause and giving a very good interpretation, or he can straight away come out with some few relevant proof of concepts which have happened to the people, to the industries in the past, who has used certain amount of limitation of liability clause and have been benefited by those limitation of liability clause by capping that clause, putting a certain amount of number or amount, or putting that particular instance. If there is no research, I think you're talking with people and with yourself, with all content of legal content which is there. Here, research plays a lot of role, wherein you'll be talking with the people who will actually understand that whatever a lawyer is talking here is also talking on the basis of a fact and event which is already taken place, where a certain view the judges or the law or the courts have taken in a particular manner. And the research is very critical here, because if someone who has not done the research will have an answer which is illogical, but all the logical answers are not the answers which are legally acceptable. So there's a difference between both the things. To your mind, you may find something wrong. To someone else's mind, he may find something, the wrong being the right. So the whatever is wrong and right, lawyer is supposed to interpret the sections of the provision which is there. But if he has done a research, he will come out with factual situations or case laws wherein people have actually given judgment. Lot many times, general counsels are in a situation wherein they say, like, this particular aspect has not been tested in the court. So there is a time they have to come out very formally and say, okay, this has not been tested, and here is something I can take a call, I can take a decision. But something which is well tested, well settled law, acceptable to all the people, and you're trying to give a view which is there into the forces or which is there into the provisions or legal bare acts, that view is not going to prevalent, because and someone will question you. Where were your research at that time when because this was all well tested, well settled law. Yeah, there's nothing around it. You cannot say that I didn't do this research there.
Right. Absolutely right. I completely agree. On the questions which are well settled and questions which are, not tested by the court of law or by the statute, which, we lawyers love to call res integra. Right. That's where, it becomes really complicated. So a lot of corporate counsels have, come on our podcast and said that, as a corporate counsel, we just don't need a legal database, right? We also need to know what is the precedent in the industry that we are working on, right? So, for instance, like, you're working in fintech space. So, having the knowledge, right, what kind of position most of the fintech industry is taking on a particular clause or on a particular statutory rule, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
So, Avinash, uh, I agree with a lot of fintech counsels. What they're taking similar is my view. We don't need only the statute, the precedences which are there. We also need to know what is the industry going towards. I cannot be sitting in silo, speaking law or speaking statute or speaking as talking about settled law, and not understanding how the industry, the market, or how others are interpreting a particular type of change or modification in the law. Law is a very dynamic area and very dynamic field. And when I say dynamism attached to it is to that level that nowadays you'll find regulations or statute coming out on the Twitter, and maybe the broader of that will come out in later. You'll find not many times regulatory body putting up something very clearly on the Twitter, and the dynamism is such a high at that level that you cannot always be talking about what is there, what has happened in the past, what is there as a statute, and ignoring the latest development, the areas which the markets are getting into, or which your competitor or your other people are getting into. If you are missing that link, what the industry or market participants are doing in a particular area, and only talking about your law or the regulation, I think you are not doing justice to your being as an in-house counsel. Coming back to the same point, you're doing justice to being as external law firm counsel, advising something on something which is there, and ignoring the entire other set of universe which has taken a call and taking a decision or something and going ahead with it.
Absolutely. Because I really hate it when law firms give this, start their advice by saying, given on the basis of the information provided, or on the basis of the documents supplied, or on the basis on these statute, this is our advice, right? So essentially they're trying to limit their liability by saying that, something lies outside this purview. We have not taken that into consideration, but that's not how business works, right? And this is where I think counsels who are advising, in-house counsel who are advising startups, their job becomes a lot more difficult, because for listed companies you can go to NSE, and then you can look at because these listed companies have to disclose a lot of information, right? So where is your go-to places to figure out this type of industry trends? In your experience, did you come across some places where you feel like it's like going to these places will definitely help me understand what exactly is happening in my industry?
I mean, just give me 2 minutes. Just give me 1 minute.
Right, Nitin, no worries.
And just give me 1 minute.
Right. Take care. I'm just here, muted.
Yeah, Vinesh.
Right. Sorry for that. See, no worries, no worries. We booked a time for 45 minutes. So let me know if there's a hard deadline. We can wrap it up before that.
We can go up to one. That's
One.
not a problem.
Okay. No, I'll just skip a couple of questions. So do you want to comment on the last question I asked, or should
I'll comment on that very soon. Okay. So when you talk about where we can go other than the law firms, or which is the place we are supposed to go when we actually want to really know that what exactly is the impact. I feel
Right.
it's important for the general counsel or the law firm or the corporate in-house counsel or whoever is advising on the matter to also connect and develop lot of a lot of insights or a lot of connects with the people who are actually going to act on your advice. So for any taxation matter, it's also advisable to why don't we straight away try to speak to our colleagues who are there and who have been studying with us, has become part of the government, and can give us some more insight. How are they interpreting a particular type of provision, and will it create impact? And mind it, Avinash, I would say this: it's not something which is not permissible, which is not allowed. There are people in the regulatory side, or people who are on the other side, who are ready to give you a right advice and give you some insights which they will take into the consideration. I think a lot many times, being in a startup space, being in a fintech space, there is no space, there is no well written, documented proof of concept which is available. But again, you can go back to the person who is going to review it, who is going to advise it. So the one person which the council should always keep interacting with is the stat auditors. Lot many times you as a corporate in-house counsel on advice or something, some aspect which can be not agreeable or not into the understanding what the stat auditor is having. And it's the stat auditor of the company who is going to ultimately sign those balance sheets, sign your numbers, or sign the view which has been taken. So I think the council should interact with him straight away and take a view from him, that what is your view? Is it something different? Because it's very difficult for yourself to find in a situation where you have advised on something and a stat auditor of the company is having a different opinion over it.
Right, right. No, completely understand that, because when I was practicing intellectual property, we used to have these informal or unofficial consultation with people at the registry, and this takes some time and network to develop. But obviously, like a government employee is never going to officially like, but if you come across a problem, you can obviously consult them. Completely
Yes.
agree with you, especially like also having your connect with people or lawyers in the similar industry space, right, where there's a mutuality where, like obviously, as a counsel, you are always supposed to maintain confidentiality about the legal matters that your company is doing. But if something is like is in the public domain, it's just that the other person will the other lawyer will have to do a lot of hard work to get that information. I think, like out of professional courtesy, there's a lot of like corporate counsel who are willing to help out each other, right?
Yes.
That's great insight, and that's again shows the importance of networking even for the corporate counsels, right? Which, like, people say that like law firms lawyers are like supposed to network a lot.
Yeah, because you need to network. You will actually get to know, and informally you can talk to the registry, you can talk to the registrar, and you can understand what is the perspective they have. Have they seen any litigation around these? What this view taken by the in-house counsel is going to be challenged by him or someone else who's going to come. So that informal advice, informal views, what they give you, and they are open to give it. It's not something they are hiding it. They don't want to share it with it. Whatever is there in the public domain, and they will give you some interpretation law which you might even have not thought about it.
Right. Couldn't agree more. So yeah, and so now we have just three questions left. So the next question I want to ask, like as a data privacy officer, right? Where do you see that generative AI can be leveraged for privacy compliance? Where do you see any potential there?
Okay. Previous data privacy is something new to this country. We were talking a lot about it in terms of regulation act that is
Right.
new to this country. There is a GDPR which is already in place, and there are a lot of corporates in this country who are impacted by GDPR regulations. But when it comes to data privacy or data protection regulation, it has become an act. The rules are yet to be seen. Now,
Right.
talking about generative AI, we see lot many times these generative AIs are trained into the regulations related to GDPR. Now, Indian data privacy law is is I can say somewhat similar to what GDPR talks about in terms of the concept, But again, I would say the regulators or the law framers have done a tremendous work and a superb work there, because the current data privacy law, and if it is interpreted in the right manner, is talking about much more detailed, much more over-oriented, and much more protective in nature, rather than just scaring or don't do this, don't do that. This is going to create such a problem. So coming to the point that generative AI is going to play a role in terms of data privacy, is by actually giving lot of perspective to our current lawyers or current professionals who are handling the rules of data privacy officers in interpreting the GDPR. Because let us accept this fact also, GDPR is a regulation of not this country. They will have elements which is different from the factors or elements which are there into the country. AI can help us to identify those elements, get those understanding, and actually look forward for implementing it. So, when you're talking about areas like data privacy, which is very vast, impacting everyone's life, I or you may not even be able to think that where this particular amount of data is going to create an impact or how this is going to be utilized. Generative AI can actually give that vision and give that thought process to the lawyers, because those machines are trained in a fashion, trained in a manner wherein they have the entire data, what has happened into the past, with a particular set of non-avoidance of, or taking a lenient view towards any data privacy regulation or data privacy document which is there in the industry. So again, coming that to the point, it has to play a role, and it has to play a definitely great role, but still the Indian regulations or generative AI has to match together, which is still slightly far off. We have to see that stage which is there, but definitely the AI will help us to understand the regulation which are prevalent in different jurisprudence.
Right. Yeah, because see, a lot of lawyers and in-house counsels, they are coming to me and they are saying like, see, I know like, there's so many personal identifiable information, PII, is stored in these databases, right? But what exactly my team is doing on a day-to-day basis, I can't have a visibility on that. Like,
Okay.
and this is, I'm talking about like even a small company like which has like 50 to 60 odd people. Imagine what is happening in companies who have like thousands and thousands of employees, right? So when it comes to large amount of data, generative AI or any kind of AI is like really good at processing a large amount of data and coming up with actionable insights, right? So for instance, like generative AI can see your emails and seeing like if there's something is happening, if your salespeople are doing something which is actually sharing personal identifiable information, which may later on come back and bite us, right? And I want, my next question is actually on the flip side, because now a lot of in-house counsels are worried as to what is the like how do we maintain the data privacy, right? Be it GDPR or be it Indian, when everybody in our office is actually using chat GPT or something like that, right? So right, so what are your thoughts on that? Like, because like as per the last survey, 44% people were using, of like professionals were using chat GPT. I don't, these days I don't know anyone like who is doing a job and not using chat GPT in some form of the other. So has like these kind of discussions happened in your organizations, or in like in the in-house corporate circle, where they're worried about like how do we maintain data privacy when everybody is using chat GPT? They might divulge some information to